Hi, welcome back to Stand on Guard. We are a little bit late today, but I hope we're going to be better for it. We'll be back momentarily to talk about the military and a whole bunch of other things.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need the resolve to resist.
Yes, please like this broadcast. We hope and pray you do. I'm going to talk a bit about the military today. And I saw this recruitment video. I'm only going to show a bit of it. But first of all, this is incredible. This story here is incredible. Where are we here? First reading, National Post story today from Tristan Hopper. New anti-racist Canadian military scrapes lows for morale and capability. I'm just going to read a few selected portions of this because it's fascinating. Now, this is a Department of National Defense report. And for the first time, more than half of Canada's naval and air fleets were marked as being unfit to meet training and readiness requirements, according to the military's latest departmental results report published Tuesday. Only 45.7% of the Royal Canadian Navy ships are fit to be used for training and operations, and the same is true for just 48.9% of the Royal Canadian Air Force aerospace fleets. Incredible. And the figures weren't much better in the Army, Tristan writes. The report wrote that the serviceability of Canadian Army equipment remained in a persistent downward trend, with Army personnel forced to rely on aging and increasingly obsolete fleets. Morale is also hitting new lows. In a survey, just 30.4% of military personnel said that the armed forces provides a reasonable quality of life. And among full-time personnel, just 53.5% said they felt positive. 53%. Some of the figures in the document that weren't in decline were in the realm of equity and diversity. DEI, the military's doing well there. The Canadian Armed Forces slightly increased the share of personnel who self-identify as a visible minority from 11.1% in 2023 to 12.2%. There was also a moderate uptick in the number of civilian employees who self-identify as a woman. Do you believe it? Self-identify. From 42.4% to 43%. So in other words, if I identify as a woman, I qualify as a woman. This is bullshit. There was also a moderate uptick in the number of civilian employees who Oh, sorry, I read that. The report boasted a new system of military promotions that does not disadvantage the intersections of diverse groups of women, men, and non-binary people. In other words, to get back to the screen, in other words, people are being promoted on the basis of their gender, their race, their ethnicity, and not their ability. This is bloody outrageous. It's a woke military. It's woke and useless. It's a joke. It is a complete and utter joke. Well, let's have a look at just how bad this is. This is supposed to be what used to be called basic training. Now, this is for the ranks. I went through basic officer training in Chilliwack, 13 weeks. My God, it was not politically correct, but we got out of there changed people. Look at this. Look how they are depicting the Canadian military in this video.
We've seen and heard a lot of different things about basic training. The
Yeah,
instructors
black
are
guy.
not here to break you. Their goal is to build you up, mentor you, help you find your inner strength, and teach you to succeed in both the military and everyday life.
Now, there's a white guy there. You don't see a lot of white males in this video. There's every other ethnicity, lots of women, you'd think 75% of the Canadian Armed Forces is made up of women. If you watch this video, this is incredible.
Basic Military Qualification, or BMQ, is a 9-week demanding journey designed for you to achieve more than you thought possible.
How demanding do you think it is now? Or are they deliberately pushing people through basic training because they're the right race, the right ethnicity, the right gender? You think so? Yeah, I think so.
It will transition you from a civilian to a proud member of the Canadian Armed Forces.
And until recently, you could be a proud member of the Canadian Armed Forces and have earrings coming out of your navel, your nose, and your eyelids. You could have tattoos all over your face and body. You could have hair let down the hair. They've changed it just a bit back to what it used to be, which was something that resembling a military. It is a stupid farce of a military now. I wouldn't join today. When I joined, I was proud to be a member of the Canadian Armed Forces, of the Air Force. I wore my uniform with pride. I marched with pride. I couldn't do that today.
Everyone who joins the Canadian Armed Forces must complete BMQ at the Leadership and Recruit School in Saint Jean.
Doesn't that look like a penitentiary? Yeah, that's Saint Jean, Quebec, where I did my basic second French language training. Thank God I didn't have to do my basic officer training there yet, because it is a prison. That is for most people their first impression of the Canadian military. They go to this penitentiary-like facility just outside of Montreal that is in a horribly hostile community, and you never leave here. Everything is underground. Everything is in this building, and you get the worst kind of housetosis, if you will.
Richelieu, Quebec. During the first week of your training, you'll be outfitted with all your military kit, uniform, boots, helmet, gloves, rucksack, and you'll settle into your quarters. You'll join other recruits in a self-contained mega complex, complete with dormitory, gym, cafeteria, and school facility. Here, you'll experience the CAF's 4 training pillars: professional conduct and culture, resilience.
That was a real classroom, because you see there were a lot of white men there. Yeah. Ha! This video is just a bloody joke.
Physical fitness and military skills.
Physical fitness standards have plummeted because they're pushing people through. They've been doing this now for years. The standards are so low. Look at this. They're pretending, oh, this woman has to carry these weights or push or pull these weights around the room.
It isn't until week 6 that you'll do your mandatory physical test. You'll have lots of opportunity to build up capacity to meet the objectives of the test. Recruits must be successful to continue their BMQ.
Wow. Yeah. So you can do maybe 5 push-ups? Yeah, we'll let you in. This is really incredible. That's all I can say. And who's leading this farce now? Well, let's have a look at this. The jolly Chief of Defense Staff and the Canadian Forces Chief Warrant Officer.
Hello everyone, bonjour tout le monde. L'adjudant-chef McCann et moi, on voulait prendre quelques minutes pour vous souhaiter de très joyeuses fêtes. The defense team is doing an amazing work in transforming this great institution. So,
transforming it into what? Into a grade Z military? Doing a great job of transforming it, ma'am. Yeah, this is incredible. You know what transforming is a euphemism for? It's DEI. That's what she's talking about. Yes, you have transformed one of the greatest militaries in the world. Didn't always have the newest equipment, but we had the best training. We had the best damn soldiers, the best air crew, the pilots, and the best sailors in the world. Now it has become a joke without any dress and deportment routine or discipline. The equipment is worse than it ever was. And we've got leadership like this.
Again, all the efforts made in procurement, in recruiting, and all the digital transformation and on and on.
and on and on and on. Yeah. So the procurement's not working. You've given away everything to Ukraine, including all of our tanks. We just read less than 50% of our ships and our aircraft can fly. What procurement? What transformation are you talking about?
Ce travail incroyable-là ne pourrait pas se faire sans votre contribution.
Thanks for the outstanding work that you've been doing throughout the year. Puis s'il vous plaît, prenez le temps durant la période des fêtes pour vous ressourcer, pour vous réunir avec des amis, de la famille et pour profiter de temps en dehors du bureau parce que l'année 2025 va être une année très occupée aussi. 1, 2, 3.
Joyeuses fêtes, happy holidays.
And we can't even say Merry Christmas, you two excuses. Oh, incredible. Yeah, that's who this military is being led by. You know, but the only thing the Canadian Armed Forces is being successful at is teaching people their second language. I can still speak French because I had to learn it as an officer. But this is incredible to me. That's the state of our military. Just a couple of minutes with a guy who actually knows what he's talking about, and he knows how sick our military is. General.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me okay?
I'm not going to play all of it.
My intent is to offer some criticism of the status quo so that we can learn, and then perhaps in question period.
Yeah, he just says a couple of things. This is a guy who used to be a lieutenant general, Canadian Armed Forces. Two of his grandfathers were defense ministers. One was a First World War hero in addition to being a defense minister. And Andrew Leslie was a Liberal MP, and he was the Liberal government's chief whip in the first Trudeau government. He's turned completely against Trudeau now because he sees that the Trudeau has destroyed, gutted our military, and he's identified
some solutions. Essentially, in my opinion, strong, secure, engaged, the precursor to the current defense policy, delivered nothing substantive in terms of modern military equipment, which saw Canada, in fact, become weaker, more insecure, and essentially absent from the deployable stables of troops required for either United Nations missions or, of course, NATO. The 2024 defense policy update of Our North Strong and Free is no better, unfortunately, in that it promises some urgently needed equipment years from now, but nothing today. Indeed, the 2024 defense spend will be less than that of 2023. Of course, we're well aware of what just happened down in the United States. Both Republicans and Democrats are united and increasingly vocal about telling Canada how disappointed, frustrated, and fed up they are with Canada's failure to defend itself and their allies, with a special mention on the Arctic. Meanwhile, as we know, and I was involved in the last NAFTA renegotiations, that's coming due at a time when a variety of key players down south have articulated clearly the base of 3% perhaps looms on the horizon, and how defense, security, trade, and border security are all intertwined. At this time of crisis internationally, with what's happening in the Middle East,
Anyway, that's somebody who knows what he's talking about. Now, how did this happen? Well, let's blame Justin Trudeau, because just as his father had no time for the military except to use it when he invoked martial law during the War Measures Act of October 1970, Justin Trudeau has no time for the military either, unless it's to beat up his political opponents. Here's how we all feel about Justin Trudeau.
Mr. Prime Minister. Yeah. Please get the fuck out of BC.
Have a wonderful day, man.
Yeah, you suck.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris Dacey. And we're trying to get Chris on the show next week, actually, to talk about the work he's doing. Great stuff, Chris. So thank you for getting that out yesterday on X, and it's been shared by a lot of folks. That's why the military has been gutted. And I want to hear Leslie say
Ukraine,
what I think
Canada's
he's about to
military
say.
readiness is at its lowest level in 50 years.
That's what I wanted to hear. Canada's military readiness is at its lowest in 50 years. Who was prime minister 50 years ago? That would be 1975. That would be Pierre Trudeau. So, like father, well, maybe it's his son. I'm not going to get into the Fidel Castro discussion. Having Pierre Trudeau as your father's bad enough. But that is precisely what links the 70s and the 2020s. A Trudeau and the absolute capitulation of our military. It was better actually in the 70s than it is now. My father was in the military in the 70s. But it is a running gag now, and that's all I can say. And of course, what kind of a game are they playing here? Because we've got Daniel LeBlanc and Melanie Joly dropping in to Mar-a-Lago again. This time, Melanie joined the group. Trudeau did not go, which is incredible. No, he's taking over ski resorts in British Columbia instead of representing Canada with at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort. And what is it with how dense these people are? Trump is saying, do something about border security. So what does Trudeau deliver in the fall economic summit? $1.6 billion in border security. Sounds great, except it's not now. It's 6 years from now. Just like his defense spending. It's not now. We're not, he's talking about these investments. I played that yesterday when the last time he and Trump got together in a NATO summit. Trudeau is boasting about, we're putting massive investments in our defense, 75% increase. Nonsense. They're not doing that. And it's over a decade. That spending is literally 8 years away. And they do it every time they have a defense policy review. They keep pushing the spending farther and farther into the future. Just like border security. That's the common denominator. All right. So, Melanie, yeah, I'm sure you did your best to charm Donald Trump. LeBlanc, I don't know if you could charm anything. But let's have a listen to how this went. Because this is absolutely fascinating.
Finance Minister Dominic LeBlanc is back in South Florida again, trying to work the contacts he made at the Trump-Trudeau dinner, this time bringing along the Foreign Affairs Minister to sell their $1.3 billion border and immigration plan, a pitch that started last week.
Melanie and I had a preliminary conversation with the incoming border czar, Tom Homan. It was, we think, encouraging.
LeBlanc meeting again with incoming Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and incoming Interior Secretary Doug Burgum, who were both.
What does that have to do with the border? Shouldn't they have met with Tom Homan? Instead of the potentially incoming Secretary of the Interior. This is an absolute gaggle. You know what?
Both at the Trump-Trudeau dinner. LeBlanc's office saying the secretaries would inform Trump of the new border plan and that the impact the tariffs would have on both countries was also discussed, something LeBlanc has routinely pushed.
The Foreign Affairs Minister, who wanted to be with us today, but Melanie has sort of lost her voice.
But Joly has done less of. Widely viewed as a potential leadership candidate to replace Trudeau, Joly hasn't spoken with the media or even been seen attending cabinet meetings since Chrystia Freeland's shock resignation, a job she could soon be vying for with the Prime Minister, who's on vacation in BC, still not publicly addressing his future.
He thinks he can lead a campaign that wins back the hearts and minds of Liberals and Canadians. I differ with him.
Well, Trudeau's former parliamentary secretary, Adam Vaughan, believes the Prime Minister would like to hang on. Him doing so could lead to a Liberal electoral disaster.
They want to sort of have a fighting chance to win the next election, let alone finish second.
No, you're not going to win the next election, and you're probably not even going to finish second. But Justin Trudeau doesn't give a damn. He just wants to stay in power because it's the only job he's ever known. besides pretending to be a drama coach.
I think they need to change in direction and a reset.
And that election could be coming sooner than anticipated. The Conservatives are planning to force a non-confidence vote at the committee level in the early new year, which, if passed by all opposition parties, would trigger a vote in the House of Commons that could potentially bring down the government at the end of January.
We believe it's at their earliest opportunity. We need to let Canadians decide what they want for their future by having a carbon tax election.
Lack of clarity.
Now, this is why I keep saying Justin Trudeau will lead, in quotation marks, the Liberal Party into the next election because they have no other choice. There's not going to be a snap leadership campaign. They're not going to name somebody else. Trudeau will do it. And this is the way he wants it.
Around Trudeau's leadership and the threat of an imminent election that polls show the Conservatives would win handily puts both LeBlanc and Joly in a difficult position, with an incoming president that seems more interested in trolling than negotiating. Mackenzie Gray, Global News, Ottawa.
Well, obviously, Donald Trump does not take Justin Trudeau seriously. How could you? How could you take a man like this seriously? He is so deluded. He's walking through complete fabrication. It doesn't register how dire, how desperate, how catastrophic events have been. He doesn't get it. Will he ever get it? I don't know. And by the way, notice that I'm not showing any CBC news clips. I'm doing that because CBC now demonetizes anyone on YouTube who uses their material. This is a crown corporation that you are paying for, that I am paying for with my tax dollars, and CBC is now claiming copyright on any material that they produce. Everything. The folks at Northern Perspective got hit by it in a huge way. Some other YouTubers are getting it. I got it this week. I used a small clip from CBC, thinking, well, my God, that's fair comment, isn't it? You can always borrow a clip. I'm not playing the whole newscast. Got demonetized for it. Had to take it out. And that's why we're not using any CBC clips. CBC needs to pay for this. They need to be taken to court, and they are being taken to court, and they're going to be sued for this because this is outrageous.
Canadian diplomats are set to meet with President-elect Donald Trump's team today at Mar-a-Lago for talks on tariffs and border security.
Canadian officials say new Finance Minister Dominique LeBlanc and Foreign Minister Mélanie Joly will be in attendance. Ashley Strohmeyer loves the way I say French names. Cheryl Casoni.
Yeah, here we are. Canada's present and future is in the hands of two Quebec MPs, as usual. And does it make you wonder what quel pays?
From our assistant network Fox Business, here with more. Cheryl.
You're putting my high school French to shame this morning.
Let's not go crazy.
Kevin.
Same.
Let's not go crazy. I took 1 year, and it's your show.
Kevin O'Leary was on Fox Business yesterday, and he was talking about this threat, this Christmas Day post on Truth Social from Donald Trump, again, taking aim at Canada, the 51st state, as he calls it, saying that Trudeau would make a great governor of the state of Canada. All of this, of course, is the tariff threat of 25% that Donald Trump has been pushing against Kevin O'Leary. Kevin O'Leary against Justin Trudeau. Well, Kevin O'Leary addressed Trump's plan for Canada to join the U.S. Yesterday. Listen to this.
Think about the power of combining the two economies, erasing the border between Canada and the United States and putting all that resource up to the northern borders where China and Russia are knocking on the door. So secure that, give a common currency, figure out taxes across the board, get everything trading both ways, create a new, almost EU-like passport. I like this idea, and at least half of Canadians are interested.
Himself a Canadian, I want to point that out. You know, there's about 41 million Canadians, right, guys? And they have this $694 million plan that they are going to discuss today, apparently, with officials in Mar-a-Lago. We're not getting any reporting that they're going to meet specifically with Trump himself, but this is the Trump team. And then Dominique LeBlanc.
Well, does that tell you everything you need to know? Donald Trump's not even interested in meeting with Dominique LeBlanc and Melanie Joly. He says, who the hell are they? They're not going to even be there in a couple of months. I have no time for Justin Trudeau. I keep trolling him every day on X and on Truth Social. I can't take the man seriously. And Trudeau knows he can't take him seriously. He's not even going himself. He's taken over a ski resort in British Columbia. I'm getting sworn at by the local population. Apparently, it's so bad that there's a groundswell of opposition from the locals who want Trudeau out. Go back to Ottawa. Go back to Montreal. Get the hell out of. I'm not going to use the word out of British Columbia. But Donald Trump does not take Justin Trudeau seriously. Not at all. He can't take him seriously because this is a man you can't. Anybody, not anyone, can take seriously. And Donald Trump is a businessman. And he understands that when you spend money 10 years from now, you ain't spending it today. And what you need to get solved right now is not going to be solved for years to come. Pretty common sense. Yeah, I can figure that out. You can figure that out. Donald Trump can figure that out. But Justin Trudeau, too much collision here, historical collision between these two personalities. Justin Trudeau can't figure that out. And he doesn't seem to think anyone's going to notice that he's not spending the security bucks right now. He's not doing anything to bolster security right now, except some drones, which will tell us how many illegals are getting across the border. And then we will proceed to do nothing about it. That's what the drones are going to do. But we talk about, we're going to have some electronic surveillance, which will also tell us how many illegals are crossing the border with impunity. So Justin Trudeau has no plan for the border. He's got no border security plan. Donald Trump knows that. This is why he says, don't bother. You want to come to Mar-a-Lago? Go ahead. But
has said, he's the finance minister, that he is going to be meeting with Tom Homan, so we shall see. But look, we import about 60% of our oil from Canada. 85% of our electricity is coming from Canada. So we actually have, if you look at of imports only, I mean, we have domestic production, but of what we import from other countries, 85% of that electricity comes from Canada, 60% is crude. So it's interesting. The other thing I want to say here, though, is Justin Trudeau, not Kevin O'Leary, Justin Trudeau, he's in trouble in Canada, guys. I'm sure that you've seen this. I mean, he is polling horribly. Conservatives are really coming out strong in the polls against Trudeau. In fact, Chrystia Freeland, who used to be his one of his top leaders in his cabinet, she resigned.
Now, when Canada gets noticed by Fox News, by any American news network, there's something going on. And Justin Trudeau's problems have become so massive, thanks to Justin Trudeau, that it's actually being noticed by American newscasters. This doesn't happen very often. And it takes somebody as outstandingly incompetent, if that's not an oxymoron, as Justin Trudeau, for that to happen. And it's incredible to me how the Americans are taking notice of how inept, how incredibly incompetent Justin Trudeau is.
And there are many in his cabinet in Canada saying he should resign because he just doesn't have the support of Canadians anymore. So Trudeau is certainly politically weak. We'll see how these discussions go today.
Right. And I mean, you say that he doesn't have a lot of support with the Canadians. I can't imagine too many Americans would support him either. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Cheryl, but that doesn't seem like a good idea.
What, you mean he might not be elected governor of the 51st state? Is that what she's saying? I mean, that's how comical this whole thing has become. And Justin Trudeau probably couldn't even be elected by Americans.
Yeah. No, Justin Trudeau certainly has had better days. That is to say the least. But what is so interesting about this is that, really, if you look at the borders, and y'all know this better than I do, if you look at whether it's the fentanyl that's coming in or it's the illegal migrants that's crossing the border, obviously the bigger issue is the southern border, not the northern border. So the real trick here in these threats, I think, against Canada and Mexico isn't so much what the Canadians are going to do. It's what the Mexican government government is going to do. And I think we need to see more develop on that. But they are, at least the Canadians, are taking this very seriously to the tune of almost $700 million.
Trump's saying.
No, they're not taking it very seriously. This is what you're missing too. That's not serious. There's no serious attempt here except to look serious. That's what Justin Trudeau's always done very well, is to look like he's doing something when he's doing absolutely nothing, except destroying the country.
Taking it seriously, he's proposed Wayne Gretzky as the new leader of Canada. So we'll see.
You know, you throw things out there and you just see what happens.
See what happens, yeah.
And that's precisely what Donald Trump is doing, throwing things out there. And hopefully he'll get Trudeau thrown out soon, because that's really the game plan for Canadians. And that's what needs to happen. You know, I showed you this material at the beginning of the broadcast on the Canadian military. This used to be a proud institution. We used to have the third largest Navy in the world, fourth largest Air Force. But even when we didn't have the numbers, we had the expertise and the skill and the pride. And we had people who were very proud to wear that uniform and to fight for Canada sometimes, yes. And we didn't do a lot of navel gazing. We didn't do a lot of worry about diversity, equity, inclusion. What the hell was that? It's just we are all on the same team. That's inclusion. We all come from different backgrounds. That's diversity. And we all fight for Canada. We all fight equally for Canada. That's the equity. It has been taken down a woke road where those terms mean something evil. Those terms are divisive. They're identity politics. They're tearing the fabric of the nation apart, and they're tearing the military apart. And Justin Trudeau wants it that way. He planned it that way. And it's an abomination. Gone a little overtime today. Thank you so much for watching on this Saturday. I will be back again tomorrow with more of the news that you need to know. And don't forget our store.
Ho, 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 ho!
%15 off everything in the store. All the merchandise, the cups, the hats, the hoodies, the t-shirts, everything 15% off till midnight, New Year's Eve. That's 3 nights. That's 3.5 days away. Don't miss it. We'll see you back here tomorrow.